Hi everyone, welcome to Unwind Flow Yoga. I'm Amanda and I'll be guiding you through our class today. This is the first class in our next series, which is called Finding a Comfortable Seat, and this series was inspired by Lotus Pose or Padmasana, which is the pose that you see in the little meditating person emoji, or probably if you Google yoga pose of the person in that super cross-legged position. This pose is one of the oldest named yoga poses, but it's actually a pretty extreme pose from an anatomy perspective. So as we go through the series, we're not necessarily working towards our lotus pose, but we're working towards some of those movements that we see in a lot of our yoga poses and making them a little bit more accessible to us. So where we can be inspired by this pose is looking at these movements and how they actually occur in the body and how they occur in other yoga poses to see if it can make something as simple as Sukhasana a little bit more comfortable for us. So in today's class, we're going to do a little bit of work, a little bit of standing poses, as well as palpating some of the muscles that we'll be using. So when you're ready, join me lying down on the back, knees bent to the floor. Just take a moment to settle in here, really getting into the body. So if that means bringing the awareness to the breath, breathing in through the nose, breathing out through the nose. Taking a moment to check in some of the areas that we'll be using today. Maybe that's around the hips, the thighs, the knees. See if anything stands out to you. Offering yourself a sense of grace and gratitude, even at the beginning. And then when you're ready, we'll do our right leg first. So just take your right hand to the top of your right thigh. Just if you were to draw a line down the right thigh, just bring your hand there. And then bring the knee in towards the chest and notice the muscles that you can feel underneath of your hand here. Notice how they feel to you. They feel firm or soft or thick or thin. Feel firm, or you can really press in. Just see what you can notice there. And then take your right ankle across the left thigh, keeping the right hand where it is. And then also start to palpate a little bit further here. So I like to take my fingers, just like little spiders, and crawling them around somewhat slowly around the tissues of the thigh, looking into the inner seam of the leg. So notice if you crawl the fingers towards the inner seam, if the tissues start to change in their sensation, change in their density. And then you keep crawling towards the back of the leg. Notice if you can feel more denser muscle there. So these are our hamstrings. You can feel a sense of strings. And then really focusing in on the in-between area here, so more towards the inseam. Maybe using a flat hand to see if you can notice all these tissues at one time. And then we'll switch legs. So release the right hand, right leg. Then left hand comes towards the left thigh. Draw the knee in towards you. Once again, see what you can notice. See if you had similar sensations on your right side, and then cross left ankle across right knee. And then we'll do that same little palpation. So start to work the fingertips like little spider legs, crawling around the thigh, working toward the inseam, and just seeing what you can notice. Noticing there if you can find those thicker muscles, more towards the hamstrings. And the softer tissues here, the adductors in between. And then when you're ready, let it go. Bring the feet down. See if you can notice two legs at once. These tissues that we started to awaken and activate, just a little bit of palpation. Both knees hug in towards the chest, and then we'll make our way up into a seated pose. So we're going to come to Baddha Konasana. So finding the sitting bones here, and then legs are going to come out into this diamond shape. Any size of a diamond that makes sense for you, and just hands can rest wherever is comfortable. From here, we're going to make sure we're joining the inner edge of our feet. So for me, I generally just touch the outer edge, but we want to make sure we're hugging this inner edge together. So our big toe mounds are touching, and our heels are touching. And then once we found that, see if we can really press the heels firmly in towards each other, and notice what activates in the legs. And then let that go. Try that 2 more times. Press the heels in together, notice where you feel it in the legs. Let it go. Press the heels together. Start to let it go. Notice where you awaken in the legs, and notice where you don't really feel anything at all. All right, from here, downward facing dog. Find your downward facing dog. Spread the fingers onto the mat. Lift the hips up. Spend a few breaths walking out the legs. Bend one knee and then the other. Shifting the weight gently side to side. And then from here, we'll get right into our outer hips. So listen carefully here. We're going to bend our right knee a lot. Really let the right knee fall as far as it would like to the floor. And then we're going to step our left foot all the way on the ground, turning it on an angle here. So it's going to come about 45 degrees where it was. And you can move it around a little bit. So it's like your toes shift forward, so the heels where the toes used to be. And then press the mat away here. Notice how that changes what's happening in your left leg, and maybe even turn a little bit more into the stretch. So look underneath the left arm. Inhale, come back through center, regular downward facing dog. Second side, bend the left knee a lot, and then take the right foot, entire foot on the floor on an angle. Moving the foot around a little bit to find it. And then really lean into the sensation. Use the hands to press the mat away. Look underneath the right arm this time. Inhale, come back through center, regular downward dog. Let's flow that out here. Inhale forward to your plank. Bend the knees, bend the elbows, so we're all the way down. Untuck the toes, or roll the shoulders up and back. Lift up, cobra pose. Exhale, lower back down. Tuck the toes under. Lift the hips up and back for downward facing dog. From here, let's step our left foot in between the hands. Right knee lowers down. And then from here, we're going to come into a low lunge to create space in the front of our right hip. So you can untuck the toes here, take one hand and then the other onto the front thigh. Press the hands down onto the thigh as you sink the hips low as feels comfortable for you. And then maybe take the arms up. Final option here, take the hands behind you, interlace the fingers, open the chest as you drop the hips a little lower, feeling the stretch along the front line of the body here on our right side. On an exhale, release the hands, right hand to floor, left hand on left thigh. Press the hand to the thigh for a twist. So a little bit more opening into the front of your right hip. Sink the hips low. Maybe take the left arm up. Exhale, release the hand down, step back, downward facing dog. From here, come into a flow if you like. Inhale, plank. Exhale, lower down. Untuck the toes, tops of the feet down, lift the chest up. Exhale, downward facing dog. Right side, right foot in between the hands, left knee lowers. Prepare to sink the hips nice and low here, so you can walk the left knee back, take one hand and then the other onto your right thigh. Let the hips drop. Option to lift the arms up if that makes sense for you. And then final option, hands behind you, interlace the fingers, open the chest. Notice the sensations through the front of your left hip, so right in this area here. And then on an inhale, release. Left hand to floor, right hand on right thigh, let the hips drop. Hand to thigh here to create the twist. And then if you'd like to add in the right arm, you can. Just an option, as we're really looking at this lower half today. So the right arm is just a little extra. Exhale, right hand down, step back, downward facing dog. From our down dog, we're gonna do that outer hip stretch once more. Bend into the right knee a lot, and then take the left toes out on an angle here. Entire left foot is on the floor. Can you press the hips up? And then maybe turn towards the left a little bit. Inhale, come back through center, regular down dog. Second side, left knee bend, right foot on the floor. Press the hips away from the mat, and then turn over to the right. Inhale, come back through center, regular down dog. Bend the knees, look forward. Inhale, take a seat into a forward fold here. Walk the feet towards the hands, soften the knees as you bend forward. Inhale to lift halfway, hands to shins, lengthen the crown of the head forward. Exhale, release, let it go. Inhale to rise, lift yourself all the way back up. Exhale, hands towards the heart. Pause here in Tadasana. From here, take the hands to the hips. We're gonna come to warrior two on our right. So take the left foot back, take a big step out, nice wide stance, and then look down. Right heel is in the middle of the left foot. We're gonna bend the right knee over the ankle. Just keep the hands on the hips for a moment. Notice that the hips are level here. So take the hands onto the front sitting bones. Notice if one is higher than the other. See if you can level it out. And then we're gonna do that same palpation on our right leg that we did when we were on the floor. So take the hand to the top of your right leg. Notice the muscles working here, and then see if you can crawl the fingers and notice the change in sensation of the tissues all the way towards the inseam and even the back of the thigh a little bit. Just noticing that there, paying attention. And then once you've sort of felt everything, maybe a flat palm here so that you can touch all three sections here. So the quads, the adductors, and the hamstrings. Then release the arms out. From here, we're going to think of tucking the right sitting bone underneath of us just a little bit more here as we come into side angle pose. So right forearm is going to come into right thigh, but we're not dropping our weight here. This is really just a little bit of balance. And then the left arm is going to reach up and overhead. See if we can keep the right sitting bone hugging underneath us as we reach the left arm back and then hug the front ribs in. Notice the strength it takes to maintain this shape. Inhale, rise back up, warrior two. Exhale, take the hands towards the mat, step back, downward facing dog. From here, we're going to step forward into Malasana. So taking a wide step forward. Left foot comes to the outside of the left hand, the right foot comes to the outside of the right hand, and then bend the knees to sink low into your Malasana Yogi squat. Elbows come on the inside of the thighs here, palms touch. Take another breath in. And then exhale, release. Hands down, straight legs, come into a forward fold. Take your inhale, lift halfway, lengthen. Exhale, release. Inhale to rise, lift yourself all the way back up. Exhale, palms touch, take the hands towards heart center. We're going to do that same thing on our left side. I'll just turn so I'm facing you the entire time. Take the hands onto the hips. Left foot stays where it is, right foot takes a big step back. Bend into the left knee, knee over ankle. Look down at your alignment here. The left heel is in the middle of the right foot. And then hands on the hips here. Check if the hips are level. Once you found it there, do a little palpation on this side. So left hand onto the left thigh, start on the top here, and then use the fingertips to notice the change in tissues now that they're more active here in this strong warrior two shape. See if you can find that softer tissues in the middle and the hamstrings on the back of the leg. Maybe using a flat hand to feel all three of those different tissues at one time. And then release the hands to find warrior two. Keep the left sitting bone hugging underneath you. Side angle pose, left forearm to the left thigh, but keep the length on the left side waist as you take the right arm up and overhead. See if you can remember that. Left hip hugs under, right arm is reaching forward and back behind you, front arms hug in. Take that next inhale, rise back up through warrior two, and then exhale, hands come down towards the mat, step back, downward facing dog. From here, Malasana pose. Take your right foot onto the outside of the right hand, left foot outside of the left hand, bend into the knees, sink the hips down. Elbows on the inside of the thighs to press them open. And then take the hands to the floor, let it go here into a forward fold. Soften the knees as you bend forward, drop the head down. If you'd like to add a little bit more weight here, interlace the forearms, sway a little bit side to side. And then come back through center, take the hands to the shins, inhale, lift halfway, lengthen. Exhale, release. Inhale to rise, lift yourself all the way back up. Exhale, palms touch, hands towards the heart. From here, we're gonna come back to the top of our mat if you're not there already, and we're gonna come into tree pose. So tree integrates a lot of the anatomical movements that we're looking for in our lotus pose. Let's start by balancing our right leg. So stepping into the right, I'm gonna take my left foot into a kickstand here. So this is how I'd like to start to get this external rotation to really see where I'm at today in my hips. And then keeping the left hip hugging underneath you, same as we were doing in our side angle pose. And then choose where you'd like to lift the leg, either the calf or the thigh, avoiding the knee joint here. And a few different factors will impact how high you can lift the leg. Me, I'm wearing very shiny yoga pants today, and it makes it harder to hold the foot onto the leg. So I notice what I have to sacrifice to make this higher lift possible. So you can find your depth, and notice you can keep that evenness in the hips. Maybe you can take your bent knee a little bit further back behind you, a little bit more of that external rotation. Take another breath in. Exhale, release, let it go. Take the foot down and then shake that out. Second side here, hands on the hips. To keep the level of the hips, hug your standing leg hip underneath you and notice how that makes you taller. And then see if you can find the foot on the calf or thigh. I might just stick to the calf on the side. See if you can press the foot into the leg, leg into the foot. Notice what muscles are working, all those ones that we brought our attention to earlier in class. See if you can take your bent knee a little bit further back behind you. And then from here, as slow as you came in, let it go. Give the legs a little bit of a shake. And then let's take this to a wide leg forward fold. So bring the feet as wide as you would like, hands on the hips, hinging at the hips to fold yourself forward, hands find the floor. Just take a few breaths here to let it go. Noticing what's this sort of newfound awareness of some of our anatomy has brought to your practice today. Inhale, lift halfway, lengthen. Exhale, walk the hands back towards the top of your mat, downward facing dog. And then bend the knees lower down towards the floor. We're going to come into a seat here. So if we come into our lotus pose, we're just going to stick with Sukhasana today. So one shin in front of the other. There is this variation where the shins are more parallel. You can do that one, but I will encourage you to do this one where the knees are stacked over the ankles today. So for me, my right shin is in front of my left. I might not be mirroring you, but I'll cue how I am. And then we'll just notice how it feels to be sitting here in this pose. Notice if you think we can access a tall spine. Notice if we can feel our sitting bones. If it might feel a little bit better to take the fingertips behind you to get yourself even a little bit higher. And then from here, we're going to take this into a forward fold. So take the arms up and then take the hands down towards the mat. Crawl the fingertips out in front. And you can stay in a forward fold straight forward if you like, or we can add in a little bit more of a side stretch here. Sometimes I can get a little bit more into our outer hips. So my right shin is in front. I'm going to walk over to my left. So walking away from the front knee. And same rules apply here at any side bend. Keep the right hip pressing back behind you as you reach the fingertips forward. Even lengthen the chest a little bit more forward. And then once you found it, maybe you'd like to drop in. To your inhale, lift back up, walk the hands back through center, and then crawl the fingertips back towards the thighs. From here, we'll switch sides. So opposite shin crosses in front. Notice what it feels like just to be sitting here, finding the sit bones, finding a tall spine. Maybe try taking the fingertips behind you for a little bit more lift. And then as you're ready, inhale, arms reach up. Exhale, take the fingertips out in front. Come into a forward fold. Let's keep lots of length to start. And then once again, if you'd like to take that side stretch, the option is available to you. So right now my left shin is in front. I'm going to walk over to my right. That might be mirrored to you, but same rules apply. Keeping the length here before we fold forward. And then as you're ready, so you can just let it go. On that next breath in, lengthen the chest forward. And then walk the hands back through center, pause. Inhale, make your way back up. Finding a tall spine once again in your comfortable seat. And then as you're ready, come to lie down on the back. Keeping the knees bent for now, feet on the floor. Take the knees in towards the chest, hug around the shins. And then drop both knees over to your left. Arms come up into a T or cactus. And then option here, since we are working on our outer hips, is to give yourself a little bit of an assist here. So the knees are over to the left. I'm going to take my left hand on the outside of the left thigh. Adding a little bit more weight here to my twist. If this feels like it's too much effort or feels uncomfortable, feel free to let it go, but Should be a little bit of that extra stretch on this outer line of the left leg. Take another breath on this side. And then when you're ready, let your little assist go. Take the legs back through center, drop them over to your right. And then once you found the alignment in your legs, you can give yourself a little bit of an assist on this side as well. Right hand onto the outside of your left thigh. Noticing here if you can let go of the anatomy, let go of the specifics, and see what you can feel. Feel what makes sense to you, maybe what doesn't make sense to you. Knowing that this is just the beginning and we'll be exploring throughout the entire month. On an inhale, let your assist go. And then inhale, draw both knees back through center, pause, and then come into your Shavasana. Extend the legs if that's comfortable for you. Heels can be as wide as your hips, or maybe as wide as your mat. That may feel comfortable for you right now with a little bit of outer hip work that we did in our class. Before dropping into your Shavasana, just give yourself a moment to land. And enjoying the last minute or so here in this quiet, introspective Shavasana. Slowly beginning to deepen your breath. Bring your awareness back to this room. We'll end here on our back, so when you're ready, bring the hands towards heart center. I'll leave you with a quote about the lotus pose. Short and simple, with lots of room for interpretation and awareness. May we live like the lotus, at home in muddy water. Until next time, namaste.